to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here. Nice crowd in summertime. What'd you say, Bonnie?
I said you're welcome.
Oh, okay. All right. Board members, make sure your mics are on so we can hear you. And taking roll call tonight. John Daniel's not with us. He's in North Carolina on business. He called. And now we're down to approval of the agenda. Any additions or deletions at this time? Okay, if not, the agenda is set. Now we're down to public comment. Bonnie?
Now I can talk. I would like to know, there is a thing about the Stantec proposal. I thought it was dead in the water a month ago. How come it keeps coming back? Is it going to be one of those things where, like, a school district keeps asking for taxes until we finally give in and give it to them? Please, somebody do that. Thank you.
Thanks. Linda?
Like Bonnie, I want to address a non-motorized path. $2 million is a lot of money for a 1 mile path. The township's share would be better spent improving our roads, removing the berm. Just the township share, let alone the $2 million. And understand the grant money's to put a path in, but for a path that goes nowhere, it goes from 7 to 8 mile. It also doesn't belong on Pontiac Trail. Dixboro runs all the way through the township. The city of South Lyon has a park on Dixboro Road. It would make a lot more sense if we're going to spend money on a non-motorized pathway to put it on a road that's not the busiest road in Salem Township. I'd like to see the board tonight vote no. Grant money is taxpayer dollars, and the township's share of this alone is better spent on our roads. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir.
Just to throw in, I'm a resident on Pontiac Trail. I watch the bicyclists go up and down Pontiac Trail every weekend and during the week when I'm home. And there's a better place for a bike trail than on a major thoroughfare with multiple sizes of semi-trucks and everything else. It's just not safe. Plus, I agree, it's not a very useful use of the township's money. You know, to spend that kind of money, I would hope that the people that are benefiting from it are township residents, but between 7 and 8 mile on Pontiac Trail, there's probably very few residents that are going to actually use it. So let's spend money where the residents can benefit from the expenditure.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Ditto.
Ditto.
Okay, all right, if not, we're down to the consent agenda. Mr. Wenzel.
I move that Salem Township approve the following consent agenda items. We have the minutes of last month, July 11th, of the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. We have the disbursements for July. These, out of the general fund, we have $71,180.90. These are checks 26,890 through 26,934. We have a payroll in July of $53,925.75, $193.64 through Paycor. Out of the sewer fund, we had $6,216.42. These are checks 2011 through 2013. Out of the escrow fund, we had disbursements of $7,045.75, check 1719 through 1721. Invoices for the month of August will be, out of the general fund, $332,355.84, and out of the sewer fund, $5,297.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion on? I think it's worth mentioning, Del, just so you know, Stantec, got a call from them today. There was an issue with the new line from the Salem Elementary School that they are tapping into, that there was some confusion when the engineering took that over, kind of state controlled. If you recall back last year, there was a manhole cover that was taken or moved with some equipment, and then when the heavy rains came, it flooded the school. They had just remodeled the school. There was $150,000 worth of damage. They didn't come back to the township, and then once again, we got another heavy rain, which it seems so long ago since we got rain, but again, it flooded again, and so they are determined to put their own pipe that's from the school, the check valve to, but anyway, make a long story short, they've called today. We've kind of waived some of the fees for the school because of the problem, and also I think it's probably $25,000 or $3,000 difference in what we're paying them that they're going to give back. So I'd like to thank our engineers for understanding the problem and getting back to the school and also the township. So you'll probably, I don't know if it's going to go out that way, but if check's going out that way, but they'll reimburse it. Yeah. And just let the public know what that's about. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is passed. Okay, down to business items. The new deputy clerk, Mr. Winsley.
I move that Salem Township approve the following compensation pay schedule for the newly appointed deputy clerk, Lori Copeland, effective August 1st, 2017. For beginning pay rate, $20.25.
I'll second it.
Reggie DeLuca seconds.
So just like to make a comment before we vote. If you haven't met Lori, she is here tonight. She's at the back table. You can wave your hand there. There's Lori. So we found out about 3 weeks ago that Kim, the deputy clerk, who was here prior to even I coming in 2012, she wanted to work more hours than what we were able to offer. So she took another job, and so I was out looking, advertised through all the different townships in both Wayne County, like Canton Township, Plymouth Township, Novi, Wixom, all over, and all of the my group of clerks in Washtenaw County. And so we got several different tips and resumes in, and after looking through them, chose Lori. Lori has, some of you may know of the, I think it's called the North Side True Value Hardware in Wayne on Wayne Road. She was there as the head bookkeeper for 18 years, almost 18 years. And then she is currently at Domino's Pizza, working in the accounting department. So she is our new deputy clerk and comes with great accounting skills. So we are very blessed to have her join us. So that's my
Okay.
comment.
Any other discussion on the board? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Welcome, Lori.
Start tomorrow.
She's already started, so. Okay, moving on down to Mr. Trent, the Stantec proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. As you all will recall that were here last month, we did give a summary report that had been provided by Stantec regarding the non-motorized pathway feasibility study. 2 weeks ago, we had the opportunity to meet with representatives of Ann Arbor Township and Northfield Township. as well as representatives from Stantec to review that proposal and to discuss what strategy we would utilize going forward in our consideration of this project. And the main reason we're coming back tonight to lay this before this board is that there are grant opportunities that are available with Washtenaw County, and the deadline for the application is the end of this month. And so we wanted to apprise the board of the latest discussions with our community friends southwest of us, and also to share some additional insights and information that our engineers from Stantec have gathered in the last 2 weeks since we met with everybody here to discuss this project. As far as my own opinion of this that I'd like to share with the board and the audience here tonight is that this is an opportunity that I think behooves us at least testing the waters, and throwing our fishing line in the waters and see if we get any strikes. This project would be phased in over a long period of time. This is a project that has been identified as a pathway from Washtenaw County for many, many years. And whereas we've seen our neighbors to the north explode population-wise, we know that Pontiac Trail is a very heavy vehicle corridor. But to me, that's one of the reasons that I think this non-motorized pathway is critical from a safety standpoint. I don't know how many of you travel on Dixboro Road, for example, on the weekends, but I was surprised, as I've had to make trips down that way the last few weekends, of how many bicyclists there are that are trying to ride on the edge of the shoulder on the outside of the white line. And I'm sure a lot of us have seen all of the bicyclists that use our pathways, our streets, as they venture from Plymouth to Northville and pedal wherever they go. They come down all of the main roads, 7 Mile, 6 Mile, and Curtis Road, as they go through our township. And I can't tell you how many close calls I've witnessed on Pontiac Trail with vehicles that have nearly hit bicyclists on the road. And so, from a financial standpoint, whereas, yes, this is a very expensive project. Our engineers are estimating it's going to cost close to $2 million. But with the funding strategy that has been devised, our share of that project would only be $150,000.
That's not true.
And that's if we decide we actually want to move forward with the project. What I'm asking this board to consider is based on the cost that Stantec would bill us for them to make application for 3 grants. The first one being Washtenaw County at the end of this month. That cost would only be in the neighborhood of $7,500 to $8,000. If we don't receive funding from Washtenaw County, I would suggest that we bring this process to a complete halt, because the funding mechanism is mostly grant monies. There's no way that I would advocate that we spend upwards of $2 million out of our own pocket for this non-motorized pathway. But if we can get away with spending less than 10%, then I would recommend that we at least explore that opportunity and see if the grant monies are available. The other thing is that those funds, if we did move forward with this project, would not come out of our pocket until 2020 based on the timeline that Stantec has proposed. So the grant process application would take us through the middle of 2018. Design would occur in 2019, and construction, based on bids that come in, would not occur until 2020. I know one of the concerns that's been voiced by members of this board in the past, as well as people that have commented tonight, is spend the money on the roads. Well, we are spending money on the roads. We're spending a ton of money on the roads. We spent a lot of money last year on roads. We're spending close to $800,000 on roads this year. If the Chubb Road project comes into fruition over the next year, we'll be spending a lot of money on that road as well too. And so I would submit for your consideration that we will have invested in roads heavily over the next couple of years, And come 2020, we'll have the flexibility in our budget to actually move forward with this kind of project if we deem it's worthwhile moving forward, and if we've been able to secure the grant monies that have been outlined in this proposal. The big pot of gold obviously was with MDOT. MDOT allows you to apply for grants on an every 90-day cycle, and they give a very quick response. So the timeline on this would be apply for a grant this month with Washtenaw County, which has verbally voiced support for this project, even going back a year ago, when our former county commissioner, Dan Smith, was the chair of the Parks and Rec Committee. With the funding that Washtenaw County residents approved last year for the 1 mil for local county road funding, 20% of that money is allocated for non-motorized pathways, bicycle paths, pedestrian walkways, etc. And so there's this pot of money that exists that Washtenaw County has available, some of which might be able to be used for engineering costs. The other benefit too, by moving in this direction, if we're successful with Washtenaw County, is that any monies we receive from Washtenaw County would probably have a contingency that we would not get the grants unless we're successful getting the next grant through the TAP funding, because we're able to use Washtenaw County grant monies as a match for the TAP funds. And so we'd be able to capitalize on that as well too. Again, no money out of our pocket other than applying for the application. And so I just wanted to provide that background information, my sense of this project. Again, this is something that would take years to complete, a phased-in project, starting in 2020 if all the grant monies come together and move this thing forward for the safety and benefit of bicyclists and folks that live on that corridor. There's a common phrase that's been used by consultants and communities that have explored non-motorized pathways. And initially, there's always a bunch of folks that come out and say, we don't want this in our front yard or backyard. And they're usually called NIMBYs, not in my backyard. And what often happens is that after the trail gets put in place, the people who were the most vocal against it are actually the ones that are the most in favor of it, because now they have an asset that they're able to utilize, and the issues and concerns about crime, etc., disappear because they don't exist. There are very infrequent issues that exist with non-motorized pathways in all the communities in southeast Michigan and throughout the state. And so with that, Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to provide an opportunity for our consultant, Ann Stevens from Stantec, who is here with us today, to provide some additional information for the board to consider before I make a formal motion. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you, trustees. Does it work better if I stand up here so you can?
Okay.
So two comments that I was asked to address was, one was why not up Dixboro Road? We looked at going up Dixboro Road. It is approximately the same length. There are similar concerns with properties, residences close to the road, driveways, wetlands, farm fields. So from a cost point of view, it really is not a significant saving to go up. It is not a saving to go up Dixboro versus Pontiac Trail, because as you know, Pontiac Trail in that area is where it's running pretty much north-south. It's not as diagonal as it is through Ann Arbor Township and Northfield Township. And then another question that I was asked to address was if it would be another option to build bike lanes within the pavement along Pontiac Trail rather than to do a separated bike multi-use pathway. Yes, it is possible. However, as most people who drive up and down Pontiac Trail probably know, Pontiac Trail has fairly sharp drop-offs after the small shoulders, and so you would have to expand the shoulder, then expand into those drop-offs. So there'd be a fair amount of build to get a paved shoulder on that road, because you can't steal the lane that's already there from the cars on such a fast-moving road, because cars it will not work, it would not be safe. Therefore, bike lanes along the road are possible. However, they are not as safe, and they would not be a significant financial saving either. So those are the two questions I was asked to address. But I'm more than delighted to answer any other questions the trustees may have.
Mr. Supervisor, if I could just ask Ann, based on my comments that I shared, Ann, is there anything that I was remiss or that you'd like to add to help us understanding the proposal that you
I think you have a very good understanding, Trustee Trent, that it's a matter of the funding is available, but that funding is only available for these type of projects. It's not available for sidewalks. It has to be a multiple use pathway. It has to be built to a certain standard for a mixed use, both bicyclists, pedestrians, equestrians, although I would not anticipate you have significant amount of equestrians on this particular stretch. We have worked on quite a few projects in the northern in Livingston County areas where they do have equestrian use. But yeah, this is what the money is available for. And our recommendation is to go at it gradually, as Trustee Trent explained. You know, if you don't get a good vibe from Washington County, it's going to be an uphill battle. So that's really the place to make the line. That's our recommendation would be.
Last meeting was brought up, when this was brought up, that the estimated cost of this whole trail is like $14 million and a $30,000 a year budget to maintain that. This grant money that you're saying, yeah, and I hear him saying $150,000 or whatever it is for this year. Well, what is it for going to be the rest of the path? Is the grant money going to be, are there going to be that significant grant money, or are we using all of the grant money for the whole trail up on this first mile?
That's a very good question, Trustee, and it is a cyclical process. So that money, for the immediate future, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't predict what will happen next year, but that money has been available every year. So, and you can apply every year for another 700,000, 800,000, so you can apply as you phase through it.
Are the TAP monies, do those come through SEMCOG, or is that an agency through the state that
So
provides those?
the TAP money actually comes from the federal government. A portion of it's all called TAP money. A portion of it goes to SEMCOG and a portion of it goes to MDOT. A much significantly higher portion goes to MDOT. However, because SEMCOG has the money also, they both look at your application, and we've had projects, one in Pittsfield Township, for example, where the money came from both parties. We applied just for the one application, and then SEMCOG and MDOT divvied out, we'll give you 200,000, we'll give you 300,000. So the money came from in two directions, but from the same pot.
I got another question, and that is in regards to, David alluded to the fact that you had a meeting with Ann Arbor and Northfield. What were their positions on going through with this project?
So we met with just the township supervisors, not the entire board. In Arbor Township, actually, the supervisor was explaining that they've been working on the Dixboro Road. You probably have seen it by the Botanical Gardens there, that they are building a similar project. And that they're in support of Salem moving forward, but right now they're concentrating going from south to north. Not from the Ann Arbor Township Hall, which would be where this project would end. At this time, that's where their concentration is. So they're in support of, but, makes sense? And Northfield Township expressed that they're doing quite a bit of work right around Whitmore Lake. And so once again, although they're in support of the project, right now they don't have the financial wherewithal to move other projects forward. You two were there, I correct me if I misspoke.
So in other words, we'd be doing this alone.
You'd be doing it alone in your township. You're not doing it for them.
And if I can just add to that point, because one of the concerns I'm sure would be, well, if we were to continue with this over a several-year period of time, is it really a path to nowhere? And I would contend that it is not. That if we're able to take this path from 8 Mile at the library and come all the way down Pontiac Trail to our west border at Dixboro, that with all of the activity that our friends in Ann Arbor Township are currently doing with their pathway projects, that Dixboro Road is a viable entity that would connect Salem Township to all of the non-motorized pathways that they've already instituted and the ones that are getting ready to be implemented over the next couple of years. Ann Arbor Township has had monumental success in the last 2 years in getting huge amounts of grant money, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I think it's over $2 million
Probably
in
correct.
the last year or two.
So they're
And-
coming north, they're coming from the south north, and so there will be an opportunity as the project moves forward and it gets momentum, that the two would meet. They may not go all the way down Pontiac Trail to Ann Arbor Township Hall, may end up meeting at Dixboro and go south there too.
And these pathway projects usually do take years to complete. We've all heard about the Iron Bell Trail that's envisioning a pathway from Belle Isle all the way up to the UP. And there are already pathways that exist that they're hoping to link the east side of the state with the west side, and then obviously north to south. And I was at a conference earlier in the year, and I was surprised to hear that for those that are familiar with downtown Pittsburgh, that you can get on a bike at Point Park where the three rivers meet, where the Pittsburgh Pirates and Steelers play. And you can ride a bike 330 miles all the way to Washington DC and never get on our road. You can literally ride a bike on a non-motorized pathway, 330 miles from downtown Pittsburgh to the nation's capital. And so, you know, for us to try to utilize the 5 miles that are in our township to try to connect with pathways that are already in existence north of us and ones that are currently in existence and will be developed over the next several years, I think it's a long-term vision that I would ask us to embrace and at least take the first step forward and look for some grant opportunities and see if we're successful in it. And again, if we're not, that's fine. We can always apply again in the future. Ann Arbor Township, has indicated that they would be very supportive of this project and, help embrace it going forward. But obviously, they have their hands full this current year because of all the grant monies that they've currently acquired. And so I would ask for your support in at least letting us move forward initially, and the total cost long-term to us in the short range would only be $20,000.
Do we get comment after this since you guys brought it down?
Yeah, we'll let you.
All right, just checking. Don't know how this works.
All right, anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'm pleased to provide the following motion. I move that Salem Township approve the attached proposal from Stantec to commence the grant application process for the Pontiac Trail non-motorized pathway project.
No way.
Do you have a second on it?
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion on this? Yeah, a couple of concerns. I know we addressed this back in last month. The only question I have too is, meeting with the supervisors, is what happens if something like this did happen in the project as far as going over Dixboro, I believe, or the expressway where it's real narrow? I mean, you would have to put in a new bridge to get to Ann Arbor Township because it's so narrow there. I know that's one of the concerns Mike Moran was talking about with me.
You would have to either put in an additional, a bridge parallel, which I have seen done, which understandably is very expensive, or do a short-term area where it is within the pavement.
Right. So I'm just saying, if our township got involved in something like this, it's like, and then these things pop up where the other townships aren't doing it. It's kind of like, it is a path to nowhere. I mean, if they don't continue this on. So, I talked to Northville Township, and they're just desperate for funding. And, I talked to some of their board members and have seen some of their meetings. And it's like, It'd be a hard sell. Again, I'm not against bike paths. I'm just for, okay, what makes sense? When communities come together to tie them together, it makes, it can make some sense. But until we have some, definite support between our two communities and we figure out what's the best way to fund this, then, it's something that I think this board would come back. I'm just saying, that's just my opinion, so.
Right on.
All right, any other comments out here? We'll take them. I think this gentleman first will.
I'm a resident on Pontiac Trail. I may be the only one in the room. I don't know. Any other Pontiac Trail residents in the room?
I represent the library.
Yeah.
The library. 7405 Pontiac, Florida. My name's Jay Julo. I'm a resident for about 3 years. Anyways, I'm not sure whether all the members of the board recognize, I'm sure Gary you do because you live on a county road. We don't live in subdivisions, that the residents on Pontiac Trail own the property to the center of the road. It's a horrendous land grab for the road right away when a person tries to make an improvement to the property already. I had to move my new home further away from the road than the old home was because of some change of restrictions in regards to road right of way. Now you're talking about, you're gonna put a bike path that's not associated with the side of the road, basically in my front yard or the guy's front yard across the road, I'm assuming. Okay, it sounds like a terrific land grab for the county and the township. I haven't been to the previous meetings, but I'm kind of questioning, somebody going to reimburse the homeowners and the property owners for that? I know I have 1,080 feet on Pontiac Trail that I pay taxes on all the way to the center of the road. And so it seems like we're trying to become very progressive and do something for other people than residents. Okay? I would venture to say that if, I don't know how many residents are in the township. I have no idea. How many residents do we have?
6,500.
5,500?
65.
6,500, okay? If half of those people, majority, half of those people were bike enthusiasts, I could understand why we would be entertaining something like this. But to create a recreational purpose for the folks in Livingston, Oakland County, City of Ann Arbor, City of Ypsilanti at 6,500 people's expense along, I don't know how many property owners there are between Dixboro Road or Northfield Township line and 8 Mile, but that presents a hardship. And I will tell you, and I'm not a very threatening kind of guy, but I don't think the bike pass will be finished at 5 Mile if you start it. It won't be finished in my lifetime because I will stand out there and stop the county and the township from building that bike path. Okay, you can try eminent domain, you can try all those kind of things, but
Okay.
the courts take a long time.
Okay. Who else we have? Dan?
I think, bike path sounds pretty good. Initially, I was kind of in support of the bike path. But then when you get into all the due diligence that's required, there's so many ifs. We don't have support from adjoining townships. All the funding is all if we get this one, maybe we'll get that one, maybe we won't.
Right.
And in the long term, I think Dale brought up the maintenance. That's a big piece. Okay, there's also maybe some liability. Well, I don't know. We'd have to check with legal on that. But I just would like to, I bet you in this room, you aren't going to find too many people that would avail themselves to the bike path.
Nope.
And I think that's synonymous with the rest of the township. I don't think a lot of township people would use the bike path. You look at the demographics of the township. I think it's fine for Ann Arbor or a community like Ann Arbor, but for our community, and I think, like a lot of people said, there's a lot of other things that we could put our money and efforts toward, and I would speak against it.
Okay. All right. Let's say a couple more, then we need to move on. Yeah.
A couple of things that come up in the discussion that I'd like to go over just briefly. This gentleman spoke about having barring it from going down through others. We were going to have a roundabout at 7 in Pontiac Trail. And I spoke to Mr. Fuller, the chairman of the road commission recently, and he told me that the person on that corner was would be glad to have allowed them to do that, but they had to buy all of his property. So I don't know if he's going to allow anybody to come across his path unless they buy all that property and how expensive it is. The second thing is that I'm still at a puzzle because the city of South Lyon polices their trail. It's a cost to them to do that. I'm talking about a policeman, not just somebody goes along and picks up the brake. That's another issue. But why do they have to do that? I mean, that's an expense. Who's going to do it? And the other one is what kind of relief stations are you going to have along this road for those who make their last coffee just before they get on a bike? The other thing is
Knock on Dave's door.
you hear a lot about the county doing these things from a recreational standpoint, but I can't think of one thing that we have in our community that's put on by the county in recreational nature. And if they want to do it, come to us and we'd be happy to sit down and give them a few ideas, I suspect. So, and I think that I have a problem with who's going to maintain it. I heard some figures thrown out. I wasn't sure whether that was a 30,000 K or 3,000, 30 K. Is that the one? 30,000. And where does that money come from each year? Us. Yeah, okay, thank you. But you got my gist.
First of all, it's according to what you have in your board packet online, it's not 150,000. It's 161,000. If you look on the page, Salem Township's in there for a local match, and we're there for contingencies. So right off the bat now, the price has jumped from 150 to 161, just if you read it. Then the second thing is, when you get into funding, it has private donations to be determined. So we don't even know how much the private donations are, let alone where they're coming from. So I still have an issue with funding. Mr. Trent referenced the Iron Bell Trail. So I Googled that. This is in Ortonville. It said that the council looked in February, and 2 people voted against the plan, 3 voted in favor. In March, with a full council in attendance at a public hearing on the trail, and many objections to the project from residents, the council voted 6-1 against applying for the grants. And they put an end to their discussion because their community owned some property where this trail would run through it, and they made it a preserve where you can't run that type of trail through it. So we heard about this Iron Bell Trail. Here's a community that said no. Not only did they say no, they took steps so it can't happen in the future. Again, I encourage this board to say no tonight. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I believe Dale, Mr. Converse said that it would cost $30,000 a year to police it. I don't know whether he meant cleaning up policing or deputy sheriff. But then I heard that. And also, I'd like to remind you all that we do have some money in the bank, and nobody ever gives the township a grant that's got a lot of money in the bank. And he got the rest of my questions.
Okay, let's move on, and if we could have got a second, can we do a roll call vote?
We will do a roll call vote on this motion. Converse?
No.
Daniel is absent. DeLuca?
No.
McLaughlin?
No.
Trent?
Yes.
Wensley? No. Whitaker?
No. All right, let's move on down to Mr. Converse, please.
Beautiful.
Agenda items.
Okay, I move that Salem Township approve adjusting the entry on write-down of $11,424 balance on the Rotunda property, number A, 01-14-400, 1012 in the Hamlet Sewer Expansion. Special Assessment District as of March 31st, 2017.
Second.
The past board action authorized the repurchase of one of the 2 taps that Tony Rotondo acquired on one of his lots in the sewer expansion, and that was what the subject here of this. In our preliminary discussion with Tony Rotondo, Tony demanded, and we generally agreed, and that was with some of the board members here, that we would refund one of the taps and be applied to the outstanding balance of the other tap that he had on that property. Because when he bought it, he bought 2 taps, thinking he could split the property, and we ended up, it was too small, and it didn't qualify, so therefore we had to, and we agreed to buy one of those back. The calculations on refunding his money took into the account the money that we refunded back on those lots, so he got just the overpayment of just one lot. It was only recently realized that the original motion that was put before the board did not account for the reimbursement of the remaining tap. Therefore, the general ledger still has a remaining balance of $11,424 on it, and this motion is necessary for that to be written down. The money has already been paid. This doesn't come out of the general fund, but this is just to write down the general ledger account for that reimbursement.
So this has been recommended by the auditors?
Yes.
So I just want to make sure we understand that. So the bottom line, there was a sewer tap that was told that he could split his property, therefore he didn't have the right to 2.5 acres, therefore he wanted, because he didn't have the proper setbacks, we wouldn't give him the proper setbacks, therefore it was only right to give him the sewer tap, refund this money back. We refunded the money back, and then at the same time, he paid his other taps off.
That was with a separate check, and he paid those off. But in the calculations on this one lot, what he originally said is, I want this lot, I got 2 taps, they're about half paid off, take this tap, apply it to this tap, and give me whatever's left. And that's what we get.
But what I want to make it clear, it's just a general entry of how it's not, there's no monies that, it's just how you added it to the books, or how we added it to the books. We added it to the books wrong.
Right. But it wasn't added to the books wrong. The motion as it was worded didn't say that we reimbursed him for the lot, that the one tap that we applied the refund to. And then that is $11,000 is the remaining balance on that one tap until the end of the bond, which is in 2022.
Okay.
It's just a general ledger, it's write down the general ledger is all it is. Otherwise, it's gonna be in the same boat year after year after year. So we need this motion in order to write down the general ledger.
Okay, any other discussion?
So since it's just a journal entry, if you will, a year-end adjustment, the auditors will reflect that in their final report that they supply to us next month when they give us their audit. Okay.
They're waiting for this motion to do that.
To finish it up. All right, we have a second, right? Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. All right, another budget amendment. Mr. Winslow.
I move that Salem Township approve the following cost center budget amendments for this current fiscal year of 2017 and 18. This is in regards to the already approved SAW grant, which is the Hamlet sewer inspection and work that we will be getting. So we will be getting in the revenue account, the Michigan SAW Grant Hamlet Sewer Revenue Account, $238,950. This will be the 90% of the entire grant that we'll be receiving. So we'll be receiving revenue. We'll also be creating a expense account, Michigan Saw Grant Hamlet Sewer Expenses, of $265,500. The difference will be taken out of contingencies, which is the $26,550.
I'll support.
This is just the, again, it's accounting, so we can keep track of all of the different expenses, which you will see on the sheet, so we can make sure that we actually get paid through the SAW grant, and then we'll have to be also cutting checks first, and then we get reimbursed.
And they started doing the manhole covers and stuff by the week already.
Correct.
And then they'll start the, once they see where some of the problem is with the sewer system, and they can address this at that time. And then get them cleaned and everything that needs to be, the maintenance that needs to be done on it. So that's moving along. Okay. Before us, any other questions, discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we're down to the reports. Revenue reports listed. We're down to the fire department. Chief Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just a real short report. Just significantly, this last month we had a car accident on M14 at Gofferson with a rollover. We had 4 passengers, 2 in the back seat were not wearing seatbelts. Both were ejected. 1 did not survive. So it's important that the 2 that were wearing their seatbelts walked away from the accident. 2 that didn't, and then going to the hospital, 1 not surviving. Our call volume is up this month, or up for the whole year, kind of. So we've been particularly busy this month. We had 43 calls, and the vast majority of them, again, were medicals and related to car accidents or just plain medicals. All I have is.
That's when you eat the bike path so we can exercise. So there's not so many medical calls. That's easy.
Well, I would caution, as people have pointed out, be careful, these bike riders are usually early.
Maybe we should put some stationary bikes in here.
We don't need any more extra work,
All
thank you.
right. All right, thank you, Chief. All right, down to any board discussion, general updates. There's not a lot. Mr. Plato, anything going on that I should be mentioning?
Mike Campbell died today. But no big township.
You sing, Ed sings. Ed used to be in a rock band when he was younger. Serious.
I'm giving away secrets now.
And rock band, and so he sings. So I think one night we should have him guitar in, and he had long hair.
With Glenn Campbell.
Yeah, he loves Glenn Campbell.
Well, he can start with Rhinestone
There
Cowboy.
you go. Let's do it. Let's do it.
I prefer by the time I get to Phoenix.
Anyway, so I think anyone talk about anything else going on?
I got a quick comment, if
Yes.
you don't mind. In regards to our roads, I think I drive the dirt roads more than I do the paved roads. And in turn, I drive a lot of Earhart and Joy Road and down to Dixboro and so forth. Northfield Township's roads are graded to perfection. They're sprayed and they're limestone. I think they have gravel roads, we have dirt roads. Last night I drove Chubb Road to 6 Mile and I couldn't see 5 feet in front of me. And that's how dusty it was. And then, another point, Chubb Road and 7 Mile. You literally have to stick half of your car out into 7 Mile in order to see the westbound traffic coming to go on to Chubb Road. Because the berm on the right side, on the east side of Chubb Road, it's a blind spot. And then, throughout the township, all of our gravel roads are washboards. why is there such a difference between Northfield, who is suffering with finances?
I
The
think
county
it's
seems to
not-
favor them a little bit more than us, or?
You know, I don't think that they are, but I know that it depends when you're driving down the road. I mean, at the time, whenever you're driving down the road, like right now, they're just doing Northfield Township. They're coming into ours probably next week.
They just started.
Did
But
they?
I drive Earhart every day,
Yeah.
5 days a week minimum, to Joy Road and down through Downhill Farms. And honestly, that road is maintained much better than I think any of our roads.
Is there a
You're
commissioner
right.
that lives on that road? No.
But in turn, if we're relying on the county to maintain things down the road on certain things that we might do,
I know,
it's,
you know, again, if you take Chubb Road, what you're talking about, that's one of the projects that they are doing this year from 6 Mile going north to 8 Mile.
right.
That's berming, ditching, and limestone, and bringing that road back up to where it needs to be. I mean, when you see, and I don't understand, I don't know how long it's been going on in the township or with the maintenance of the roads, but, I mean, there's like big trees growing in the ditches along your few road. I mean, it's like unbelievable, like,
Sure.
how long has that not been touched?
Right.
So all I know is that 50%, you know, we have to fund 50% of it. And so, I mean, Northfield does put some money into their roads. I mean, they're.
And that's my
but-
point.
but not-
We're putting
not
our
as
share
much.
amount into it,
yeah.
but we're not getting the results, I think, that other communities are.
Well, what's funny is the dust control is a huge problem. It's just not working. We did Chubb Road this past week with calcium chloride. Well, no, it was a big difference. In fact, there's a few residents that live on the stretch from the railroad track over to 5 Mile. And they called and thanked us, and they used the calcium chloride.
It's a must. I mean, I'm telling you, 5 feet in front of, I couldn't see at one point the hood of my car
Yeah.
from the railroad tracks
Yeah.
to 6 Mile. But then in turn now, with all the gravel trains going on to 5 Mile, making that left turn, there's
Yeah,
a berm that's
Right.
indented into 5 Mile
Right.
now. And if somebody's coming down that is not
Right.
familiar with doing
Yeah.
50, 55, they're gonna bottom out or go airport. Those are concerns. Just something I wanted to bring up.
no, the Chubb Road is a big problem now that a lot of the gravel trains are going down that way now, so it's, that road needs to be, the bottom line is it needs to be paved, and we gotta get that figured out.
That's right.
Because it just should be a Class A road, and that's a road that I think
I'm
people
sure
will even
eventually,
take.
yeah. It'll get to that point.
I'd also like to report that Curry Road is now open between 5 and 6. Took them over a week to replace that culvert. They put in one big, huge honking culvert in there, and it's a lot nicer, but they still need.
So
You notice,
they have a weight limit on that for 5
Yeah.
tons. Is that going to stay like that?
Yeah, I think the reason I talked to them is that there's another culvert that's down close to 5 Mile. It's within 50 feet of 5 Mile, and that culvert is gone as well. And that's what the weight limit is for that one. I personally went down there and watched it because it's right outside my house.
that's why that road's really graded.
But
Best road in
bottom,
Salem Township.
the bottom 25% of those culverts were gone. There was no metal there at all. That's how bad they were. They were in there for over 50 years, and they were gone. And the other culverts that were covered out.
Okay, what else you want to talk about? Anybody got any questions? Yeah, Ken.
Last year when they did 5 Mile Road, why don't they trim the trees? Why don't they trim the branches up off the road? Between
5 Mile between
Curtis and Tower.
Yeah, I haven't been down there.
I mean, it's everywhere. It's Chubb Road. I mean, all the trees are so hanging so low.
Yeah.
I just trimmed them for the neighbors there at cemetery. There, branches laying everywhere with a semi-trailer. I mean, I ripped my. It's third time now I've ripped my globe off my sprayer. I don't travel the roads. It don't matter. I'm number one wherever I go.
Right.
But you know, because I'm getting the bird all the time, and I try to stay on the dirt roads, but with us and all the other farmers around here, and the roads are terrible. It's dry, and they're having a hard time, but it seems like we're always on the back burner. I mean, they're pathetic. 6 Mile Road between Pontiac Trail and Dixboro hasn't been touched in over a month. And from Dixboro to 7, all the way down to 5 miles, just atrocious. They're finally grading it today, but I mean, it's been over a month. It's just hard to, you know, it's hard on equipment.
Bonnie?
Yeah, did you ever hear back and find out about the lines on 7 Mile Road?
They're supposed, it's on their schedule, so they didn't give me a time on it, but.
Okay. I just-
Yeah, they need,
talked
I've had a couple.
about it.
Bob?
On Salem Road, if you get two cars passing each other, just as you get off the pavement, you scratch your car.
With the trees?
The trees are hanging right over the road. They go along, cut the grass, but they don't do this. They don't work with burden. The county used to cut it back 2 or 3 feet. This guy just does the grass.
They contract, this is a contractor, I think? I've
Yeah,
seen
and he's
several
got
now.
it, the machine he's got will turn this way,
Right.
but he's not using it.
You're gonna have to show info.
All right, I'll mention that to, yes, Audie.
Hey, Howard. Hey, question again, M14, you spent a lot of time down there with human assets and capital assets or equipment and all. You guys were out there a long time. And we talked about looking into the method of reimbursing our expenses. And I'm wondering where that's at. We've been talking about it for months and months and months and months, and I'm wondering if it's a work in progress.
It is, as a matter of fact, I think Mr. Converse and I just had some discussions about that, and Mr. Plato has provided some drafts that we've been marking up, and now we're into the points of looking at schedules and who gets charges and not get charges and enforcement and presenting that to the board for their comments. So I think it's at a point where I would say that it's probably ready for some rough comments out of there.
Excellent.
So it's
You
been
spent a lot of
working.
time on M14.
Well, drunk drivers, you know, cost us money, and M14, I don't know if people have noticed, but, you know, 23's been down, 10 miles been down at Napier, and it seems to me there seems to be a lot more traffic going through our township as of recently. I don't know if it's just me or not, but we've been seeing a little bit of more car accidents, because people are using our back roads.
And everybody's running late.
Yeah, that's been true.
That's good, because they can at the same time.
James?
I would like to thank the board and particularly you in regards to trying to reduce some of the truck traffic through downtown and on 6 Mile. There has been an improvement, but when are we gonna, we kind of got to get to the next phase, which is attempted enforcement. So,
They've been pulling some over, so we've already got some calls on that, so that's, yes, Lynn.
The previous board adopted a cost recovery policy or ordinance. Why aren't we enforcing it? We're hearing that they're drafting something already exists, approved by a board. This isn't new.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, no other comments, public comment? We're down to public comment. We've been, I don't want to cut anybody off, right? Is that where I'm at? I lost my agenda here, so, public comment? You've already had comments? Sharon?
I have more of a question than a comment.
Sure.
The last Washtenaw Solid Waste Management meeting, it was said that not only Washtenaw, but Salem Township is going to revise all your host agreements. Is that true?
That's not true.
Okay.
That's only between the county and, but there's no negotiations with Salem Township.
Okay.
But I know through the social media and all that, and some people in Salem Township have been saying that, and that's false. That's
Well,
wrong.
it was on the taped meeting, though. That's what I watched.
Pardon?
It was on the taped meeting.
Yeah, but it's
That's where I
not.
got it.
Okay, anything else? Okay.
speaking of landfill, what is the status on the request for expansion of the landfill?
Right, so they have taken that off the table,
Okay.
and so the committee is, they've had 3 public hearings. I think they're having another one in September, and then that they will meet again. This is the solid waste committee that I'm on.
Can you make sure we know when that is?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, but there's no request from the landfill out for an expansion. So, you know, when that comes, we'll be sure let people know about it, if it comes. Okay, listen, thanks everybody for being here tonight. Be safe and enjoy your evening. Stay around, there's plenty of desserts, and it's good to see everybody. Yeah.
Here's the invoice for Township Road.
Hey, what's the date?
Oh, this is from the money.
Oh.
No, I'm just bad.